am back in Greece. In Skiathos, I have been here briefly before, but that was about 20 years ago. It's late in July, it is very, very hot, so not ideal for snakes, but hopefully we will see some reptiles.
And of course I'll film a whole load of other wildlife while we're here. Right outside our hotel room, look at this. Papiliomacon, the old world swallowtail. One of my favourite European butterflies. We do get these back home in the UK, but they are so rare. Whereas over here in Skiathos, they seem to be fairly common. A crida, commonly known as a cone-headed grasshopper or the Mediterranean slant-faced grasshopper. How cool is this? A cicada exoskeleton. Talking of cicadas, as they'll be the soundtrack to a good chunk of this video, let's take a close look at one we found while we were setting a trail camera up.
Cicada on my hand.
As for the trail camera, we put it in 3 different locations. But the results weren't super exciting. We picked up brown rats from 2 different sites. One at the base of the hills behind the hotel.
Open it up and switch it to off. Switch it to off.
And one in the dried out river that runs through town, where we also filmed a feral cat. And back at 2 locations behind the hotel, we had our best results. A good few shots of European hedgehogs. We're currently on the outskirts of Skiathos town, and we have a green lizard. I've read a little bit of conflicting information about what particular species they have here, and the fact that it's a juvenile makes working out exactly what it is a little more difficult. This is most likely to be Lacerta viridis, the European green lizard, but could also be Lacerta trilineata, the Balkan green lizard. Either way, my camera work wasn't great, and we did see another one a few days later, which I filmed equally badly. Hooded crow, once considered to be a subspecies of the carrion crow, but now recognised as a separate species. I love the constant noise of swifts screaming above. For me it's the soundtrack to summer. But sadly it's a call we hear less and less back in London, as numbers where we live have dropped drastically over the last few years. The swifts here in Skiathos share the skies and insects with swallows. We've seen 2 species on the island, European red-rumped swallows and barn swallows, who nest under eaves, at the front of and sometimes inside buildings. I spoke to a lady who owns one of the local shops. She waits until both adult swallows are in the nest before closing the shutters in the evenings, and then wakes up at first light to let them out. She also said she's so happy every spring when they return from their winter migration. Another day, another butterfly outside our hotel room. Vanessa Cardoi, the painted lady. Nowhere near as impressive as the swallowtail, but still nice to see. This is a mammoth wasp. Look at the size of that thing. I would not be holding her if she was alive. They are paratozoids of scarab beetles and Europe's largest wasp species. From Europe's largest wasp to one of Europe's largest bee species, the violet carpenter. And just for the record, both of these critters were dead when I found them. You can't come to Skiathos without seeing cats. There are so many. A lot of them feral, some of them well looked after, and some less so. There are charities who care for them, but they've got their work cut out because of the sheer number. And unfortunately, this many cats will have an impact on wildlife. And that was something that we witnessed firsthand.
Don't stand in the middle of the road.
We saw this cat, along with 2 others, hunting geckos several times. And cats weren't the only danger for reptiles on this road. We headed up here a few times, as it led to a nice walk above where we were staying. And we ended up giving this route the nickname Roadkill Hill. 4-line snakes, geckos, some kind of mammal, possibly a shrew, too flat to tell, a scops owl, and a couple of other birds that I couldn't identify were all dead on the road here. But depressing as this stretch was, it did lead to an amazing walk with some incredible views. So nice, we did it a couple of times. This is a female red-veined darter, sometimes known as a nomad dragonfly. Eleonora's falcon. We saw one of these a couple of nights before, but I didn't have the camera with me. And now I do. Look at that dive.
Good morning, little guy. Have you seen any snakes?
The video here is inconclusive, but we're fairly certain that this is a Koch's gecko, a lifer for both of us.
There's some kind of frog in there, but I'm not jumping down into that stinky water as I am about to go out for dinner with the family at a reasonably nice restaurant, and turning up smelling like a swamp probably won't go down very well.
We took a day trip to Skiathos, well known for being the island where most of Mamma Mia was filmed, which I can safely say I have zero interest in. On the plus side, it is a very nice island to visit. Kath and myself actually spent a couple of weeks here back in 2007. Reptile highlight of today's trip was an Erhard's wall lizard, also commonly known as the Aegean wall lizard. Back on Skiathos, and here's a Muscovy duck.
There is a wasp in the sea. Wasps are not very good at swimming. Let's get you over here. There you go.
Unsurprisingly, while staying on an island, we spent a lot of time in the sea. And of course saw a whole load of the common fish species that you normally see in this region. Some of whom were friendlier than others. It is actually biting me, although it doesn't really hurt. Something I wasn't expecting when I set off on this trip was that one of the natural highlights for me would be a marine gastropod, Tonagalea, the giant tun. There's not a whole lot known about these rather impressive snails. They are carnivores, they'll mainly eat sea cucumbers, but they'll also eat starfish and occasionally urchins. They're found in the North Atlantic, Mediterranean and Caribbean Sea, and on the west coast of Africa. And my favourite fact about them is that they can release an acidic substance to defend them against predators, which actually contains sulfuric acid. Nice to catch a cuttlefish on camera. And another unexpected experience was swimming in the sea with mute swans. There's a few pairs around the coast of the island. These ones in Skiathos town hang out with a lone black swan.
That is a beautiful jumping spider.
I'm not 100% sure what species this is, but it's most likely to be a half-edged wall jumping spider. I think these are Atlantic blue crabs, a non-native species. First found in Europe around 125 years ago, and they do take their toll on the local ecosystem. There's been programs to wipe them out in Italy, France and other parts of Europe, with varying degrees of success. But here in Skiathos, they seem to be doing just fine.
We're on our way to visit Mandrake Beach. There is actually two of them, and a bit of a dispute as to which one's best. But apparently this is the real one. You can tell because it's written on the sign. The other one's about a 20-minute walk away, and it looks like this. Yes, they are nice sandy beaches, but amongst that sand there is so much plastic. I found and used this container to pick up what I could, which on the grand scale of things will make absolutely no difference whatsoever. And yes, I know there's places that are way worse than this, but it's really depressing to see firsthand what we are doing to our planet. Shame on you, human race. Rant over. I also went for a walk in the forest that surrounds the beaches. I imagine this place in spring is absolutely amazing. But unfortunately on this day it was ridiculously hot and there wasn't much wildlife around.
White Admiral. Nice.
The area surrounding the bus stop that would take us home to our resort is home to quite a large abandoned hotel complex, and I couldn't resist a quick explore. Flipping this sofa revealed a couple of Mediterranean house geckos, also known as the Turkish gecko. The centipedes here were Scolopendra cingulata. I would have liked to have got better shots of them on camera, but I got distracted by the geckos. And then this parasitic wasp, who had just taken down a spider. As I went back to film the centipedes, there was a sudden change of plan as I had to run for the bus.
This is one species I was hoping to see while I was here, but I hadn't expected to get quite so close. Balkan terrapins, and the reason that they approach people is because people are feeding them bread, which is really not very good for them. They don't have the enzymes to digest it. Beautiful species, nice to see a native, as opposed to all the invasives you get in so many other European countries. Those claws do hurt a little. Not going to draw blood, I don't think. Shouldn't say that, it'll happen now. They can give you a bit of a nip.
So I will be keeping my fingers well away from the bitey end.
And I'm not going to bother you anymore. In you go, buddy.